Get interactive now.
Phone 8223 0000.
1395 Adelaide's 5AA.
20 minutes past 5 now. Let's head across the ditch to New Zealand. Selwyn Manning from LiveNews.co.nz. Selwyn, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Peter.
You're getting a bit of rain there, are you?
Yes, I'm trying to stay positive, Peter, but you look out at least you guys get sunshine over here in Auckland. It's terrible this time of year.
Is it? Well, we actually haven't got sunshine. We got cloudy conditions, but 30, so we got warm and cloudy, so a bit humid.
Oh, that sounds nice and warm. Yeah, this is starting to actually push down below 20, I think. You know, such as living in an island sitting down in the lower part of the South Pacific.
Well, that's it. Yeah, if you want tropical weather,
yes,
head north, young man. Now let's get on to politics. The formalities of establishing a new government. You've had your election; it's been and gone. First thing on to the defeated Labor Party. Their leader, Phil Goff, stepped down.
Yes.
Has a new leader been decided?
Yes, a new leader was decided earlier this week, so on Tuesday, and it went to David Shearer, and he's the new face in politics here. He's the man that we mainly profiled last week on your show, Peter. He won when Helen Clark, the former Prime Minister and Labor leader here, lost the election in 2008. She left politics and went to the United Nations. Her seat became vacant. That was the Mount Albert electorate right in the heart of Auckland. David Shearer, he was in the United Nations. He was an administrator with the UN human rights area, and he was embedded in Baghdad at the time, in behind sandbags and in this room in the green zone in Baghdad in Iraq. And he got a call through, would you be a candidate in the Labor Party? And he'd already been a fairly loyal Labourite in the past. And he gave it some thought, and he came over and he fought that election, and he won the Mount Albert seat. Now, for the last just short of 3 years, he has been basically an observer in many ways inside the Parliament. But everyone could see that this guy had some cred, certainly from outside. Now, he was a surprise candidate for the Labor leadership after this election. And he put his hand up and he says, I do think I've got what it takes to actually lead this party and to get it really ready and refreshed for a new election in 2014 and represent the people in opposition in the next 3 years. And the public support behind Shearer was phenomenal in the last few weeks. And what we saw was the party MPs in the caucus recognising that and going with Shearer. He won decisively by all accounts. His main opponent, Peter, was a man called David Cunliffe, who's been the finance spokesperson. He's Harvard trained. He was a diplomat for New Zealand prior to that, and he's a young man in his mid-40s. And David Cunliffe would have been a very good leader too. So the Labor Party was very lucky to have those two coming through as the main candidates. But it looks like at the moment they're all juxtapositioning to see who is going to be on the front bench of the Labor front bench to take on the National Party in this new term, Peter.
He's talking about rebuilding and reconnecting with Kiwi voters. As he said, how he's going to reconnect?
Basically getting out there, meeting people, hearing what they're going to, what they need, what they want to say, the kind of challenges that are facing them in their lives. And then it seems that what he's saying is he's going to then work out how to pragmatically address problems in people's lives that government can affect in a positive way. And they'll start to present, a pragmatic policy plan, really. So is that a PPP type thing too? He's very much one of being connected to outside the Parliament as opposed to being like a career politician from inside. So the trust factor appears to be there. I was just looking at the New Zealand Herald site this morning on this, and I see there, the public's asked a question on the Herald site here, and it says, is David Shearer the best person to lead Labor? Now, the first answer, it says David Shearer is proud and humbled to be voted in, blah, blah, blah. But the first answer to that is that he is not only the best person to lead Labor, he's the best person to lead New Zealand. So, that's just a snapshot. There's very, very, very solid support out there. And even the National Party, some of the very pro-National Party blogs, they've said to me on the telephone that David Shearer, he's one that we fear. So there's qualities there, perhaps, that Similar to John Key. John Key came in from having a long experience in the money markets outside. He was not labelled as a stereotypical politician. He swayed the public into, that they noticed John Key and they thought, this guy's a bit different. We like him. He's the kind of guy that we could have at a barbecue. Now, David Shearer is got the same qualities, but the difference is perhaps just to underscore what David Shearer himself said. He said, while John Key was out there making millions for himself, I was out there trying to help save lives of people.
Because he spent a lot of time in working for the UN, hasn't he? In impoverished areas in Africa and beyond.
Somalia.
Yeah.
He's been under, had Somalian warlords surrounding. He's been with guns in his face. He's been out there doing. He's got cred. This is quite a big thing. Yeah. So he's an interesting choice, and he's certainly one that you can get a sense. You get a gut feeling. You can kind of. You were talking about negativity and positivity before. Yeah. The Labour Party was dogged with negativity before. It was inside. It was tribal. It was. If you're not with us, well, damn you, you can get lost.
Can we get him over here then, perhaps? Can we poach him over?
This guy, he's kind of given a kind of a mood at the moment. I know it's only a few days, but there's a mood right across that seems to be, he can kind of do something here, but early days and time of that. And just on closing on David Shearer, there's a cartoon, once again, in the New Zealand Herald when I was looking and seeing what the lines were, and there's this posse of National Party cabinet ministers and things with their big shields up from old medieval days or prior to medieval days with National on their shields, and John Key's there looking like Goliath. He's got a spear in the air. And then there's little David Shearer walking up there with his slingshot, and it says, "So it's off to work then," is the caption. And maybe there's a message in that. The National Party looks formidable, but David Shearer's a bit of a David and Goliath.
All right. Now, we're just about out of time, but just quickly, the National-led government, they've all been sworn in, cabinet ministers, selling off of state-owned assets, the first priority. When are we likely to see that happening?
They got their first item of discussion, Peter, when the Cabinet was sworn in and informed, was to actually sit down and take in the advice that Treasury has been working on these asset sales. John Key, the Prime Minister, has indicated, even though it's an unpopular policy that the public generally do not want that they're moving first and strongly on this. So we can expect probably within the next 12 months that these things will be up for share market investment. So maybe there's a few investors over there in Australia, Peter, that can have a punt on New Zealand state assets.
We'll do a whip around and see if we can get a few dollars. Have to leave it there, Selwyn. Catch you again next week. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye.
Selwyn Manning from LiveNews.co.nz, 5:28. Anne Stone's got news next.